In the news, in the news.
Recently, one of my videos came under scrutiny by a writer-comedian in Montreal by the name of Peter Wheeland, who writes at a website called cult_MTL or Montreal. Without getting into the nitty-gritty, I do have to say that I find it rather interesting that many of the cronies that followed this Peter fellow's link to my YouTube page came to it with the same warped concept that Peter presented in his piece. Instead of actually checking for themselves to see if what Peter was saying was actually true or accurate, they just blindly attacked me along the same incorrect lines that Peter had written about in his piece on his site, or on the site. The main issue seemed to revolve around something I said regarding Canada Day, and the fact that Canada Day was also moving day in the province of Quebec. To be precise, what I said was exactly this. Have you noticed, or did you know, Canada's birthday, which used to be called Dominion Day but is now called Canada Day, is generally celebrated by all proud Canadians in all corners of this great country. But in the province of Quebec, this great day of celebration was relabeled and designated as official moving day, or sign a new lease day. That's right, be sure to book your moving truck way in advance, as they're hard to come by since everyone is moving on the same day. Did you hear anywhere in there where I said why it was labeled this way, or who labeled it this way? Does it say that I feel that this is something done on purpose or anything like that? Nope, it doesn't. All it does say is that July 1st is moving day in Quebec. And that, my dear friends, and you too, Peter, is a fact. Nothing more, nothing less. I don't know, but based on what Peter wrote, I can only surmise that he somehow imagined that I said that there was some kind of modern-day conspiracy hatched between PQ government or Parleen Marois to have July 1st as moving day in Quebec, because Peter takes his readers on some historical journey back to the 1750s in order to somehow use that fact that July 1st date was conjured up so long ago that it couldn't possibly have had anything to do with anything modern. But then he debunks his own story by revising the actual historical date that July 1st date was chosen as moving day in Quebec, which he points out happens to actually be somewhere in 1973. But then jumps back on that date as not being possibly connected to his theory that I was trying to connect the two things, because that date in 1973 was also before the PQ came into power. Funny thing is, if you listen to what I said, there's nothing there about any of this. All I said was, have you noticed, or did you know, Canada's birthday, blah blah blah. Of course, Peter's zombie-like followers didn't take the time to appreciate this fact either, probably because they were too caught up in accepting his word as gospel, which I imagine Peter is used to by now. And, to be frankly honest, I could care less how the date thing got to be chosen. All except to say that it seems rather conspicuous for this brainchild we call the province of Quebec to have chosen July 1st, Canada's birthday, as the official provincial moving day of Quebec. Yeah, right. Peter also says, apparently the fact that so many Quebecers move on July 1st weekend is a part of a plot to keep us from celebrating Canada Day, which is another thing I did not say at all. But, despite these inaccuracies on Peter's part, his readership minions swallowed it all down as gospel. Peter later goes on to heavily imply a stamp of racism on my part with this statement. The anonymous creator of this video provides a peek into the deranged heads of people whose attitudes towards French-speaking Canadians are motivated by pure and simple racism. And then, as if he whipped out his crystal ball, he spews out this little nugget imagined about my character. In their minds, any excuse to attack Quebec, code for francophones, is a good one, even if you have to make up the facts to justify it. I just had to laugh at this one. Nice try, Peter, but it seems to me that anything that would be made up would not include the word facts. So anything made up would be like falsehoods, perhaps, not facts. Then, after that, Peter writes, I have zero tolerance for intolerance regardless of who propagates it or who it's aimed at. Boy, he really goes off the deep end on this one, putting down the media while seemingly protecting and justifying the actions of an absolutely absurd entity called the Office of the French Language. Really, isn't it sad that such an office even exists? Come on, seriously. A person that says I have zero tolerance for intolerance regardless of who propagates it or who it's aimed at going on to defending such an office and their inane actions and tactics? Could this really be the same person? Now, in defending this French language policy group regarding the English words on the plastic spoons incident, he says, all that the OQLF had done was to open a file after someone made a complaint, which the law requires they do. All they had done was to open a file? Really? Open a file on a company, otherwise known as Citizens in the province of Quebec, who happen to have one or two English words on spoons that people use to scoop their freaking yogurt? For crying out loud, Peter, really? And beyond that, tell me it isn't so. Tell me there really isn't such a thing as a law that requires this so-called language office to open a file on someone for using one or two English words? What the hell kind of law is that? I'm sure that even you, if you take a moment to read the sentence over a few times, even you will see and realize how crazy that sounds. But then again, maybe not. One last thing, Peter. Standing up for the English language and the English culture in Canada does not make one a racist or a bigot. The types of laws that they have in Quebec and the office that enforces them, now that can be considered racist and bigoted. As for my video and your claims, maybe the facts, yes, the facts, hit a nerve. Oh yeah, and happy Canada Day, everybody!
In the news, in the news.